Hello, Jay.
Hey, buddy.
I have a question for you, Jay.
All right.
How you doing?
You know, if I was any better, man, you and I'd be bent over a craps table, shooting dice and getting served by ants.
That's right.
Can I ask a question real quick?
By the way, we've been to the Gold Strike in Tunica enough that we now know the name of the woman that's going to take care of us at the craps table. It's
of course
Ann.
you do.
Yeah.
Why does Jay tolerate you not using the superlative of the only lawyer you know batting 1,000 at the Supreme Court?
Well, I mean, everybody knows it.
No,
I mean,
they don't.
He's a humble man.
No,
I know him.
Jay,
I know him.
do not be humble.
Well, it's in my nature.
That's right. I heard a song the other day. Speaking of, remember Mac Davis?
Yeah, oh Lord, it's hard to be humble.
When you're perfect in every way. It's pretty good.
Look in the mirror.
I
get better
looking every day. Jay, I'm going through a rough spot, and I got to talk to somebody about it. But I'm having a tough time with Wordle nowadays. My goodness gracious.
Well, it comes and goes. It's freaky. It's kind of like the dice.
That's true.
I wouldn't worry about it.
That's true.
No, I wouldn't worry about that.
I would have sworn it was fifth. I mean, I thought they were trying to pull one over. You know what I do? Sometimes I guess words because I think they're smart, and I thought, election day's on the 5th. That's what I was doing. Oh, I bet they're doing the 5th because election day's on the 5th. And of course, it ain't the 5th.
No, I have decided you can overthink it. I'm just kind of going first instinct. I've got strategies. I use the same starting word every day, and I have certain strategies off of that. But I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, it's freaky. They took away the averages for us. It used to, you could get on there and see your average, and you're a good player. I mean, you hit lots of threes, and you'll get.
Well, I tell you what, I feel like I'm a good player, but I feel like every day I'm compared against the superior Wordle player, and at least in my circle of friends, and that is Jay St. Clair. You're pretty good.
I appreciate that. I'd say I bet you're average mine.
Well,
you're about 3.7.
If you're not playing Wordle, you're doing it wrong. And I started playing that Connections, which is pretty good too, but we'll get into that later. So, Jay, before we get some legal questions in here, and by the way, get on in here, 615-737-9986. A number of you are already asking some questions on the super text line. You're invited to do so. Jay loves them. Jay, earlier this week, the Supreme Court weighed in on this case involving Virginia and voter integrity and purging voter rolls from individuals that do not have a constitutional right to vote in a presidential election. And we had two laws at play, as I understand it, and I might be misunderstanding, and that's why I've got you. So the 1993 federal law that informs states that they cannot do wholesale voter poll or voting roll purges 90 days before an election.
Right.
And then you have a Virginia law that was passed in 2006 and signed by the Democrat governor at the time, Tim Kaine, who ran with Hillary Clinton. He was her running mate in 2016. And that gives Virginia the ability and the authority to remove individuals that have denoted themselves as aliens in this country. Now, you can be an alien legally or illegally, but either way, you don't get to vote in a presidential election if you're not a U.S. citizen.
Right.
So the Supreme Court weighed in, and in a vote of 6-3, they said, of course, Virginia can do this, and of course, people can file provisional ballots. Were you surprised? Let me ask it this way: were you surprised that the Supreme Court weighed in on this?
I really wasn't, man, for a couple of reasons. So, number one, it doesn't affect a whole lot of people. The numbers aren't that large. And number two, there is absolutely a safety net of filing a provisional ballot. So Virginia was just following their law, and they got it in under the 90-day rule under federal law. So, no, it doesn't surprise me because it's not a huge change. It's just the numbers aren't big enough to affect the outcome of the election.
Well, and I do think it is, it's telling that the court decided to states have carte blanche in how they engage in elections, but the federal government has interceded just in a few ways. And one of the ways that they do is they want, I forget what it's called, but they want to check off, particularly on southern states.
Right.
Because
the Voting Rights Act.
Well, that's right. I mean, and the Voting Rights Act, doesn't it apply certain provisions of that specifically to the southern states?
No, absolutely. No question about it. And Alabama got some of that knocked out a while back. It's very technical, but it's basically free clearance. That if you make any change, if you want to make any changes to your election laws, you got to go say "Mama Maya."
Right.
You got to go to the Feds, Justice Department, and they have to pre-approve it. You can't just put it in place. So they treat you like second tier states. And, there's some history behind that, but you'd like to think maybe we're past most of that. But yeah, here, I think the real, in my mind, if I were deciding the case, is the provisional ballot thing. It's not going to prevent anybody from voting, but legally. If they want to vote, they can vote.
And I think, if I remember, because I was, of course, in Birmingham at the time of that, it was Shelby County v. Holder.
Right, that's right.
Eric Holder being the Attorney General, I suppose, and I think Alabama made the specific argument that the time is past that you can treat us differently than
right.
You can't treat Alabama differently than Oregon or Alabama differently than Minnesota.
Yep.
Exactly right. And I think the courts agreed with them. All right, your call's on the way. Paul is on the way. Vicky's on the way, and a number of questions on the super text line. We're going to get right to them with our man Jay St. Clair right after this. Jay, before I forget about it, I don't know if you've seen this because I know you're on the X machine that Elon calls it now, the Twitter machine at Jay St. Clair. I think I have that right. You're not on the Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen the photographs of your?
Correct.
Yeah, have you seen the photographs of your grandchildren? Uh-oh. I think I lost him. You there? I'm putting him on hold there, Belle. Let's see what we can do. There you go. Uh-oh. I think I broke St. Clair. His Halloween, obviously, last night, and
you got some cute grandkids.
Oh, my goodness. One of them was wearing one of those dinosaur costumes. I love those blow-up dinosaur things. Is Jay back? All right. Jay, have you seen the photographs? Has Chuck sent you the photographs of your grandchildren?
No.
You need to see your grandson.
The Halloween?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's in, I don't know. These things get me anyway, but he's in one of those blow-up dinosaur costumes. With the little bitty T-Rex arms. Oh, you got to see it. It's just, Chuck's got to send you those photographs. All right, let's go to Paul, who's got a question about employee tips. And I think we might have the man to talk to about employment law. Paul, what's up?
Guys, I have been waiting weeks to finally be able to leave my business and call in. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
And since you guys are both gamblers, we're going to lay all the cards on the table. So, about 3 months ago, we took my old cash register, tossed it in the dumpster, put in a new POS system, which included a credit card machine that we can now take tips from our customers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, Jay, I need your help here because the last thing I want is somebody above me breathing down my neck.
Right.
I have basically decided a certain type of way to divide the tips. I have people in the back of the house that make a product that allows the front of the house people to do their job and sell. So I pull a certain percentage every 2 weeks when I do payroll, and that gets designated to the back of house people. Then I take the remaining 70% and I divide it amongst the front of house people based upon the hours they have worked.
Right.
Give me a dollar amount divided by the hours. So they all pick up this amount per hour that they work. Am I okay doing that?
Have you did you do any research on this to come up with that? Here's why I'm asking, Paul. There are very specific rules that govern tip pooling and tip sharing. Very specific rules by the Department of Labor. I will confess to you, I don't have all of that memorized in my mind this very moment. So it's a very technical area. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to find me on the internet. I'm very easy to find. J St. Clair at Littler, LITTLER.com. Send me an email, and I will send you the regulations, and we can talk about it. It's just it's one of these. I tell people 95% of the time your common sense will keep you out of trouble, but 5% of the time it won't. Well, this is one of those 5%. It's very technical.
Yeah.
So reach out to me, and I'll give you chapter and verse of what you can and can't do.
That's awesome. Because, the next caveat is, what if one of the two owners has to fill in on the front of house because somebody called in sick?
Now, listen, this conversation will take an hour, and it's not fair to the other people listening on the radio. So you reach out to me directly, and I will get you fixed up as the Tennessee Vault.
Well, that's pretty fixed up. All right, Paul, it's JAYSTCLAIR at Littler.com.
I love it.
All right.
I love it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. All right. Absolutely. Jay's your man. And Jay, you're so kind to do that for him.
I'm glad to help. Listen, good Lord's blessed me a lot. And here's what I tell people about that, man. When I go up to the pearly gates and St. Peter opens up the book of life, there's going to be a lot of big black X's over on the right side. So I'm looking for some green check marks on the left side. So when people like Paul approach me about this, I'm not doing him a favor. He's doing me a favor.
Oh, that's good.
He's giving me a green check mark in the book of life.
Well, I know you can get him fixed up. He's your man, Paul. I know you're still listening. Jay is absolutely your go-to guy for that kind of thing. Vicky is next. Actually, Miss Vicky, hang on just a second. I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to put Jay on hold because I am guilty, and I admit this. I'm trying to be better about not making Mr. Ken Weaver wait. And Mr. Ken Weaver's got news to talk to you about, and he's going to do that in just a moment. We'll continue with your calls and questions of Jay St. Clair on this Fri Jay in just a moment. Get them in, 615. If you don't want to call, you don't have to. You can get them in via the super text line, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. As we continue, yes, we'll talk about Mark Cuban. Several of you are asking about that. We'll go back over what Donald Trump actually said during his conversation with Tucker Carlson and what he did not say. By the way, didn't say anything about a firing squad. Matter of fact, I've noticed that CNN's pulled the cryon that says firing squad because somebody has noted that he never said those words, and that's not what he intended anyway.
Why do they care? They lie all the time anyway.
I mean, why, election interference, just have at it, apparently, over at CNN. My life consultant, my gambling buddy, and my best friend, I don't so much mind the fact that he's a lawyer, but now I got another lawyer, Jay, in here, in the form of Cameron Smith. And there's just too many lawyers, Jay. Too many lawyers, I think.
Well, no, I guess there's one behind every telephone pole.
That's true, Jay. I'm just here to listen to your wisdom.
Jay, actually, when we finish up with Ms. Vicky and a couple of these questions, Cameron's just brought something to my attention that I was unaware of, and we might need, I don't know. I mean, we got a good legal man over there in Cameron. He's a good activist. We might need a little additional legal expertise with this deal that he's got going on, and it has something to do. I'm just going to tease you with it, with raccoon ownership, Jay.
Yep.
Raccoon ownership.
Everyone excited.
And everybody should be excited about this. But before we do that, Ms. Vicky is on the line. Hello, Vicky. Thank you for holding. How are you? Hey, Vicky. Boy, oh boy, Vicky. What you got to do is stop listening on the radio, and here's what I'm going to do. You're going to hear me in about 20 seconds say this, so I'm going to say it off the line. You got to stop listening on the radio and just listen on your phone. That makes it so much easier. If you're just willing to listen on the phone for a moment and not on the radio station. All right, so let me get back to my questions for Jay St. Clair. They're loading. How about a class action defamation lawsuit against everybody? Always wants to sue when things aren't going their way from a political perspective. It's probably, and so I won't get into the details because they're talking about suing the DNC, suing Kamala Harris, suing the mainstream media. It's fun to talk about at parties, but in practice, those types of things are pretty difficult, aren't they, Jay?
Yeah, well, are they asking, can they sue them?
They are asking, can we sue a class action defamation lawsuit? Jay, can they sue?
I am going to go to my legal associate, Bell, to answer this question. Bell, they will need
$400 in a crayon. Did I get it right?
You, my friend, now have your law degree.
That's right. That's all you need. $400 in a crayon.
That's all it takes.
I don't have to pass the bar, do I?
We'll talk about that.
It is an interesting dynamic, and you and I have talked about this for 20 years, Jay, that people say, well, can I sue? Can I sue? Well, of course you can. There will be a lawyer that will take up your case.
Yes.
But you've noted correctly for 20 years what they're really asking you, right?
Well, I've learned that with my clients, right? Because I represent employers, most of what I do. And so a client will call me and say, hey, this just happened. Can I fire this guy? And I'll say, yeah, you can fire him. Yeah, absolutely. It's your company. You can fire anybody you want to. They say, oh, okay. Well, will I get sued if I fire him? Probably. Probably will. And then he thinks a little bit more and says, well, okay. If I fire him and I get sued, am I going to win? And then I'll say, well, I don't know. Who's on the jury?
Yeah.
And now, see, I have just communicated a lot of information in few words.
How do you still have any clients?
Well, I only have the ones I want, Bill.
That's fair.
And actually, right now, I've whittled it down. I'm just representing 3 clients now, Bill, and I've never been happier in my career.
Please ask Jay if the states have any standing with regard to the DNC, because we paid for a Democrat primary. Oh, so this person is wanting to know if the states themselves have any standing with regard to the political shenanigans that took place. I think that's probably more in my arena. I would answer that question, Danny, this way. States are allowed to engage in election practices in any manner they're choosing. However, the states really don't have a lot to do with the primaries. The primaries are a function of the Democrat and Republican parties, and they can pick a candidate any way they want. And even if it's the most undemocratic way imaginable, they can pick a candidate any way they want. And the expectation is that the voters will respond to whatever they're doing at the polls during the general election. That's how I would answer that question.
Yeah, I guess I would add this too, though. There are laws that apply. And if those laws are broken, somebody is generally the candidate that really has the standing to sue. It's not so much the voters, it's the candidate. Think Bush v. Gore, right? Back in 2000 when the presidential, when it came down to dangling Chaz. Mm-hmm. So the parties, the real party and interest in that situation is the candidate.
Right.
And,
right.
There might be some circumstances where the state could enforce criminal laws, but just generally the candidate is really the person that has the standing.
Well, BC has just written in. Cameron, I'm going to get you in here on this because BC has asked, are you guys about to say that I can now legally own a pet raccoon in Tennessee? BC's on it. He gets it.
I want you guys to know that, and we'll explain this in a minute, but yes, that is what we're going to go for. We want to repeal the law that prohibits you from owning a raccoon or caring for a raccoon as a pet in the state of Tennessee.
Jay, outside of dogs and maybe through marriage, the occasional cat, have you ever had a different type of pet?
Well, when I was a teenager, I had a snake.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hey, I thought I saw you at the union meetings.
I was a big Alice Cooper fan, and so the snake's name was Alice.
Obviously,
well,
I would have gathered that from
you.
Everything.
Look at Jay. Go find his picture online. You can probably see it on Super Talk TV. Right? I mean, look at the man's picture, and the first thing that you think is that guy is an Alice Cooper fan.
Obviously. Obviously.
What I want to know is what the hell is wrong with this state that you can't own a raccoon and I can't take my emotional support cobra into a restaurant?
Wow.
Well, here's what I'm thinking about here, Bill. I've gotten into old John Wayne movies. I missed a lot of them over the years, and I love the movie True Grit. It's just great. He got nominated for an Oscar, and he's got a cat in that movie, and he lives with this Chinese guy, Chin Lee. And so this girl is, then she's asked, she wants to meet his family, and she says, "Well, I don't count Chinley as a cat because they're not really, you just own them." And he says, "Well, you never really own a cat; you just room with them."
That's the truth. Yes. That is absolutely the truth. And if
I don't need to own a raccoon, but I might room with him.
I don't know what, I don't know why it is, but because they have the opposable thumb, right? Yep. I consider raccoon, and I guess maybe they are intelligent. I just consider them smarter than most in the animal kingdom.
They are super smart. They can get into anything, and they are jerks. They are just the worst. But my point is, why do we have dumb laws? Like, if we're conservative state, I looked at a map because somebody on the internet created a map of states where you could own a raccoon, and Tennessee was not one of them. And I'm like, well, let's fix this. And so I actually had breakfast this week, and I talked to Jack Johnson and said, "Jack, did you know you can't own a raccoon?" And he's like, "Well, we just got to find somebody to introduce it.
We got to tackle the big issues, man.
We got to get somebody to introduce this."
Jay, you might recall for years in Birmingham, and I would have lawmakers on. I tried to get the domesticated dog named as the state mammal of Alabama because, believe it or not, the domesticated dog is not the state mammal in any state in the union.
Right.
Wow.
And I thought, well, what animal gives more back to humanity than the dog?
Absolutely.
In every and every time I'd have a lawmaker on, and I would talk to them about it, they go, "Oh, that's funny, that's cute." And I'm like,
funny.
"That's not funny. I'm serious." And they're like, "Oh, that's good." And then, invariably, Jay, the dadgum cat people would come out of the woodwork and ruin it all.
Well,
they'd ruin it all.
Well, the cat people are the most confused people of all time because if you're a dog person, your dog loves you too.
Yep.
If you're a cat person, that cat does not love you. If they were bigger, they would eat you. And so I just don't understand that. It's a one-way street there for the cat people.
Your opinion means very little to me.
Yeah, there's Bell. There's the cat guy. No, I've said for a long. Y'all have probably seen it on the internet. The day in the life of a dog and day in the life of a cat. And the day in the life of the dog is, 7 o'clock, we got up, we went outside, my favorite thing. 7:20, we ate, my favorite thing. 7:25, we played ball, my favorite thing. And the cat is like, "It is day 876 of my confinement."
Did I send you, Matt, the meme of how animals react differently during the pandemic?
No.
The dog says, "He loves me so much, he quit his job to be with me." And the cat says, "I knew that idiot would get fired one day."
Well, I'm telling y'all, my dogs, and I have 2 defectadoodles. They're just weird dogs. Love them to death. But every night, same dog food. Get it out. And they jump and they do circles and they're so excited. And I'm like, man, the lights are on, but nobody's home. And that's why I love you. It's because, I got to take care of you guys. Otherwise, you're in trouble. The cat, meanwhile, murders everything and brings things back. That's what cats do.
Have you seen, there are online, Jay, you've probably seen some of this on the Twitter machine, the cat cameras. There are people that attach, cats are serial killers.
Yes.
That live among us.
Psychopaths.
Yep. And they're psychos because it is a psychopathic trait that you kill for pleasure, and cats kill for pleasure.
Yes.
They did.
So my parents had 2 cats. Obviously, this would be a little gross for you. They're Rammer and Jammer. They are
it's awful.
Farm cats. And those guys would go out, murder things, bring the parts back, arrange them at the door to be like, "Just so you know, this is what I do.
This is what happened."
Right. Oh. And woo.
Well, and Jay over there has got his Secretary of Homeland Security.
Mm-hmm.
How's she doing?
She's fine.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jay, I'm going to try Miss Vicky one more time. Let's see if we can get her in here. Miss Vicky, do you have a question or a comment for Jay St. Clair?
Yes, I do.
All right.
My friend, my son's friend, he tried to vote in Kentucky. Well, when he did, he went to the voting machine and he started to vote, and he was going to vote for Donald Trump. Well, he tried it twice, and it would not let him vote for Donald Trump.
Was he trying
And
to? I've seen some of the.
He took a picture of it with his phone.
I think someone has sent me this video because I've seen a number of videos, and this actually there was a complaint in Nashville, Miss Vicki, and there was a complaint in Memphis as well.
Yes.
If you go to the polls on these touch screens, there's a little bitty tiny box. If you try to hit that box, it will confuse the machine, and sometimes it will select something that you don't pick. So what my poll workers were telling me, and what's my understanding in Kentucky, is they're telling people, don't try to hit that itty bitty box. Tap the name, and if you tap the name, it'll be fine.
Okay.
But that's my understanding. I don't believe that there's widespread fraud going on in Kentucky where they're not letting people vote for Donald Trump. I think it's a little bit of a flaw in the system that was set up.
Yeah. Well, I went and voted yesterday, and I asked the man about it when I went to vote, and I said, "Now, do I tap the name or do I tap the button?" And in Carthage, they have the Xfinity machine or something like that, and he told me to push the button, and that's the reason I was concerned about that, because we need all the Donald Trump votes we can get.
Well, you got that right, Miss Vicki. I agree with you there. Well, hopefully folks will work it out in Kentucky and they'll get the word out, not to tap that little bitty square, to tap the full name. Jay, how much money are lawyers going to make on these lawsuits that are going to be filed right after the election?
Woo-wee.
Not quite enough, but, lawyers are people too. We got to eat.
That's a lie. Well said, Jay.
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I got your back.
Yeah, that's I'm just gonna let that stand without comment. How about that? That's the best I could do. Jay, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope several people are asking me what you think Tennessee's going to do to Kentucky.
I'm really just more interested in this race. I never thought we would be where we are, Matt. And there's a lot of different ways it could go.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel good about Larson.
I do too. I don't feel good about Chase. I mean, he's got to win.
He's got to win.
And I've got to do more research. I've got to delve in, and you probably have. We're talking about NASCAR now, by the way, and you've probably done the research, Jay, and you understand it. I don't understand the resetting of the points during the playoffs. Like after each 3 races, there's a reset. Yeah. And I don't fully get it.
Well, it goes back to the points they earned during the regular season. You win points for winning stages.
No, I mean, does it include the stage points that you get during the postseason?
I think it does. I think you continue to accumulate them during the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, this is not interesting to me until we get to the last race and my driver's -43. I'm like, what the heck? What happened there? Right?
Yeah, all that it continues to accumulate during the playoffs. And he lost out on some stage points.
Everything my kids know about racing is because of Days of Thunder.
It's a good resource, buddy.
Cold Trickle, man.
It's just one of those things. Was that Bell?
No, that was Cameron. That was Cameron.
Well, Cameron, that's just one of those things that never happens.
He's from California. It doesn't make him. What's the line, Jay? He's from California. That makes
he's from California. He's not really anything. You said it, brother.
You can't pit right now. We're eating ice cream. Jay, love you, brother. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, brother. Love you too.
Take care.